All right, let's get into this mustard seed stuff. Now, some of you may be familiar with the idea of a mustard seed. Some of you may be familiar with the parable of a mustard seed. When Yeshua spoke about the mustard seed, there are many translations depending on the Bible you read, but the basics of the actual translation is have faith in the mustard seed and you can move mountains. Now, normally when I give talks, I like to give like a little bit of call and response, but I'm not sure if I'd be able to hear you guys. I know that the Unity mic is open, but I'm not sure if you're going to be able to respond to this. But just, I want you to think about it really quick. When it says, have faith in a mustard seed, it could move mountains. Now, logically, that makes absolutely no sense because a mustard seed is a seed of a plant, which is a tree. So therefore, how are you going to move a mountain when you have a regular tree? Now, to understand what Yeshua was specifically speaking about during those times was the smallest seed of creation. Now, the mustard seed is a very, very, very small seed. And if you've ever seen a mustard seed, it's actually perfectly round. It's a very beautiful seed, in fact. It's hilarious how you have this tiny little round thing and it becomes this giant mustard seed. So you can even see just based on the idea of the mustard seed alone on how it actually forms from something super tiny, which is also a perfect circle, sphere, which is a key hint in what Jesus was talking about. But it also grows into this magnanimous tree. So if you have faith that is this big, you can grow it into a magnanimous tree that can produce plenty of seeds. So to have faith in the mustard seed, it's really to understand what is the actual first seed of creation. Aha. Sometimes we get too caught up with earthly ideas to where we think that our earthly principles are the most finite. But truthfully, the seed that Jesus was talking to us about, I hope that you guys can comprehend this. It is the atom that makes up all matter in the entire universe, including the mustard seed, including the mountain, including your physical body. We are made up of trillions and trillions and trillions of atoms. There are so many atoms within your body alone. It outnumbers the stars in our Milky Way galaxy by far. You would be absolutely blown away with not only how tiny and how far inside of you an atom goes, but you'll also be blown away about how many you have in your body to make you you. If you truly knew the magnitude of how many atoms you had, you would literally think that you were a image of the creator, God, living a human experience. Truly. You have enough power within your systems that we know today in science, you can power over like 500 car batteries just by breathing. That's all you got to do. Just be alive. And you pack so much energy within you, so much force that unfortunately it's been misguided to where we're using it in ways to produce negative emotions, negative thoughts, negative experiences. So we're here today to get a little bit of grasp on that so we can learn how we can move forward. So there's a couple of principles when it actually comes to the atom and faith, because it says have faith in the mustard seed, right? If you have faith in a mustard seed, then you can create anything. But let's just reframe that. If you have faith in the atom, which is the building block of all things in the universe, then you can create literally anything. Because the faith that you have in that thing that you want, let's just say you want a new car, right? Let's just be very material here. You want a new car. So if you put faith in visualizing and believing that the good Lord and all that is is going to provide you with exactly what you are asking for, asking you shall receive, then guess what? You will get that new car. And it'll probably come to you in a way that is completely unexpected. And your ego will try to deny it, which is always a trick bag. But when it comes to the idea of faith, and let's say it's an emotion within you, let's go back to that gratitude that we just practiced. For that small moment, you were practicing the faith of gratitude just by simply thinking about things that you're grateful for. Does that make sense? You're practicing in the moment because you're in full belief of the thing that you are grateful for, correct? You're not sitting here like questioning, am I grateful for my kids? Am I grateful for my house? Let me think about it. No, you're not doing that. You are in full belief and faith that you are grateful for the things that you have. So it is a practice of using those atoms to create the environment within and without so that you get the experience that you're looking for. That's really what God is. The universe, this is an unfortunate reality that I've had to learn in a lot of ways. Faith always says yes, right? Let's say I believe that there is no God. Faith will be like, yeah, you're right. Thumbs up. And then one day you're like, oh, well, I believe that I'm stupid. There you go. I believe that I'm abundant. Yeah. I believe that I'm healed. Right. You are. Yes. Faith. It says yes. But what you have faith in determines a lot of what you've been taught, a lot of what comes from your past, a lot of what comes from the structure of our society and the things that make up our sociological norms and even the history of where we come from. So whenever you're looking at this idea of the mustard seed and you're trying to understand what Yeshua was saying, you can have faith and it can pull you in multiple directions. You can have faith in Satan. You can have faith in God. You can have faith in disasters on the world. You can have faith in healing on the world. You can have faith in yourself, creating a project that's going to change the people around you. You can have faith in the anger that you feel and the destruction that you cause the people you love. You can have faith in anything you think of and focus on, because the faith itself is the action of you looking to have it fulfilled. Correct? So when we think about that, let's break down the idea of the atom, because I know that's a lot to digest. And I'm pretty scientific here, but I'm also a spiritualist. So I like kind of bringing in both. And it's going to be a little bit of a whirlwind. But let's get to the idea of the atom. The atom itself has its own structure, right? The atom itself is based off the principle that we actually, as above, so shall be below, live in this world. There's three, right? We live on the Trinity in this world, right? We have a dad, we have a mom, and we have the child. That's three. Look, we have a moon, we have a sun, and we have a planet. That is also three. A little bit relative because there are other planets with other moons, but we're just going to stick to that one for right now. But let's think about the atom. The atom has an electron, a proton, and a neutron. Those things are three, and they have different roles. The electron is known as the kathos, or what is known as the generator, or also the feminine energy. The proton is the masculine, also the node of electricity, the projector. And then the neutron is the center where all things are created from. So you have three principles that exist within the atom itself to create the boundaries of its body. And then that atom is going to go look for its counterpart through magnetic frequencies that align them to the like particles. Let me say that again. The atom is looking for its like frequency to align itself with the like particle. So it's looking for what it's looking for, right? It attracts what it is. It attracts what it's looking to create. You are the same. You are attracting what you're looking to create, even if sometimes your thoughts are ruminating on super negative thoughts. And if your thoughts are ruminating on super negative thoughts, it's programming your subconscious. So now your subconscious is seeing that in the world that you're looking at. So you're pretty much looking at a mirror, blaming the world for why you may be having this thoughts about the world. Faith. How you see the world is a practice of faith. If you visualize a world that's healthy, that the media is good, that the politicians are doing the right things, stop talking about the division of Democrat, Republican, liberal, and start thinking about unity, then you're creating the faithful projection in your mind, which is making it in your subconscious, which is now telling those atoms to create that environment and that reality for you. Why do you think Yeshua said, have faith in your atoms? Let's reframe, in your mustard seed and the ones inside of you, and you can move any mountain. You can change any landscape. You can change any frequency in any room that you choose to walk into because you are the child of the creator. You are the mustard seed. Have you thought about it that way? So let's get back into some of this idea of balance. So does anyone not know what the Star of David is? And it's going to be important. I did have some slides for this, but I chose not to show them because they're, I didn't want any technical difficulties to come up. And so the Star of David is a triangle going up and then a triangle going down. And if you know about it, it's superimposed. And so it looks like a six-sided star. That is known as a Merkabah. Mer, spirit, Ka, light, Ba, body, spirit, light, body. The Star of David is a, a more westernized idea coming from the idea that Europeans did create this translation of the Bible. So they depicted the Star of David. Usually it's in a circle. And then you have the star inside of a circle. The circle is very, very important because the circle is God. And the Star of David is the boundary in which takes up space, or the upper triangle is masculine and the bottom triangle is feminine. So it's balancing your poles. And if that makes sense, the atom has its own Star of David because it's a sphere. So the Star of David is inside of it. You have a sphere around you. You have a Star of David around your body. Leonardo's Vitruvian Man depicts this perfectly because he draws the ratio, which is the ratio of pi, which is how atoms are made and divided, which is how the reality is structured. So we only, but here's the thing, like I said, the smallest thing to think about. You are the atom. But going to this idea of the dark data, you have to have balance. You have to have balance within your goals. If you don't have balance or within your body, then you have disruptance. You can be either too masculine or you can be too feminine. But the goal is to be right in the middle. It's supposed to be both. So let's just describe what it looks like to have too much masculine energy. Look at our government, too much masculine energy. Let's look at a time where you have too much feminine energy right now. Let's look at the negative side of that, of how in our society, when you have a lack of strong feminine presence, we teach our women not to speak. We teach the feminine principles on this planet that it's really sad that most little girls have heard, be seen and not heard. That's really terrible. Because not only are you weakening the throat chakra of every single feminine presence on our planet, but you're also weakening the presence of the power of the feminine divine. So when you have a positive feminine divine, you have someone like, let's see, Marianne Williamson, if you guys know who she is. She's a force in nature. You have you have a lot of unity speakers who are practicing the feminine divine, and you can see it in their presence. Now, when you have this idea of oneness, you have your positive and your negative, or your masculine and your feminine acting together. Let's just be realistic about this idea of the atom. The atom is electromagnetic, which means it produces electricity and it has magnetism. The electricity is the force that goes outward. The magnetism is the thing that draws it close to its likeness. So if the atom is doing these two things, let's just talk about the fact that you are also needed to be balanced, because you're going to be projecting your masculine poles out to the world while you're also going to be receiving your feminine of the things that you accept in life. So it's important that you understand the balance of these things. Now, there's a way to control it. There's a way to control yourself. For one, you have to actually do some, like, this is one thing that I've noticed that's really hard for westernized people, Americans, if you will. We don't self-reflect ever. And then we don't make corrections from those self-reflections. A lot of time when we self-reflect, we'll have an argument in our head with someone that we were arguing with, and we'll reflect on what we talked about with them, but how we're so right and they were so wrong. And we'll even make up words in our head about what they said to us, and we'll have a full-blown conversation with someone who's not even really there. And you'll make up your mind about it, right? So how many times in the day are we actually trying to hone those self-reflections, understand, hey, you know what? Maybe they did have a point. Maybe I'm not exactly right. Maybe God is trying to teach me something in this lesson. So the ego is the biggest part of what we believe is true. And that's all based on the habits of your past. Your ego and your brain neurology is only the things from your past that you've ever experienced, and you've made a decision on whether it's good or whether it's bad. But when you're talking about faith, you can't bring the past into it. You have to understand that right now, right here, you're creating your future. So if you're trying to justify your reactions, your reasons, your anger, your frustration, your sadness, your blame, and you're trying to point it at something or someone, I will heed you. You are creating more of that for yourself. But if you're trying to understand the lesson in it, if you're trying to reflect on why God had you in this position in the first place, because you are the child of the Creator, who is the ultimate soul that chose this ultimate experience to be this human in this lifetime and to experience all these things, the question is, why did I have myself experience some of these heinous but also really traumatic things in order to learn how to be more loving and closer to you, which is myself? So the question has to be flipped invertedly. Not what is the world doing to me? What am I creating to produce in the world? But you have to ask it from a soul's perspective, because sometimes it's hard for us to grasp why we may have went through something that we went through as a child if we don't understand our past lives and the lineage of our soul. So it gets a little confusing there. But I will digress and I will move back on to the idea of oneness. The idea of oneness is the reason that the atom exists, because it's trying to find balance within itself. And the reason that you exist is because, once again, as above, so shall be below. As below, so shall be above. You also have to find balance within yourself. And when you have the balance within yourself, you do have the peace. You cannot be moved by people's reactions. You will not believe in the heinous things that are seen on the media. You will not react to what the government, what the war, all these things, all these traumatic things that are happening around us. You will see the divine in all things. But if you are still pulled, judging, taking sides, whether it's good or bad, then you are then not balanced. And that's just the reality. But if you can see all things, even though you don't agree with them, they should not move you. They should not get you to react and respond emotionally. They should only let you see the divine at work, and then you visualize what you want to see in the world to make it happen. Moving mountains. So I say that to say all this, and I know our time is starting to come to an end. But the reason that we need to understand oneness is because we need to understand the balance in our body comes from the way that we think and the way that we feel. The feeling is the magnetism or the feminine presence. The thinking is the male electrical presence because it's literally in your brain and it's created from electricity. That's what a neuron does. It creates electricity in your brain and it moves it all throughout your body. Now, your emotions are the feminine process of that thought, which is the emotional process of that thought, right? Does that make sense? So in order to understand how to be one, you have to understand first that you are more than you've ever been told or taught. You are literally a blueprint of God. You are in the exact image and makeup. And I'm not talking about the fact that you are a physical formed human. I'm talking about the design of the human body literally is the exact same as the first steps God took to create itself. So you literally are more. You are capable. You are right now programming and doing everything to make reality real for you. You are the center of your universe, period. How you treat that universe will reflect back to you because you are attracting it and you are the mirror. Well, you are the person standing in front of the mirror. God is the mirror, giving you back what you see. So, whenever you learn how to control your atoms, you become the magnet of the things that you desire. That's why in the Bible it says, as you believe, so shall it be. In the book of Thomas, which one is it's one of the lost scrolls, it phrases it a little bit different, and I kind of like it a little bit better. It says, be as you desire. Because as you believe, so shall it be. Yeah, that's true. But what if you're believing in something like, I am not good? Because you've been hearing that since you were a kid from your parents and grandparents. So you can believe that and you will be it. But in order to manifest and to be the strongest person within yourself, be as you desired. What do you desire first? Acknowledge what the thing that you want and the thing that you desire. And as you become it, you started acting like the person that is that. You started having the behavioral cues. You start having the emotional reactions. And then you'll even start having the thoughts that reflect the person that you're trying to be, who you desire. It's a very specific rule. Now, in order to do this, you have to understand that you can tap into the Merkaba. But for now, that's a little bit advanced. What I first want you all to think about is, for one, you're masculine and feminine. Those two thoughts. The left side of your brain is literally masculine and thinks in a specific way. The right side of your brain is literally feminine and thinks in a feminine way. So they do two different things. The first thing I want you all to do is I want you to try to connect the two sides of your brain whenever you do a lot of meditation, maybe in the morning, whenever you're waking up. You connect those two sides of your brain. You can even do it now. You can just literally think about your brain. There's actually these wires that go across your brain from front to back. They're called a corpus callosum. And they literally send information from the left to the right so that they have function. So when you do that, you actually sync the frequency of the hemispheres on how they're producing rhythm, how they're producing thoughts. And I want you to imagine that you take that energy of those two hemispheres syncing, and I want you to bring it back into that space, into the heart. And I want you to feel how that heart begins to kind of open up, and you'll feel it, a presence expanding within your heart. And I want you to know that that's the first step of balancing the poles and coming back to the neutron, right? Because you're balancing the feminine and the masculine. Or if you were the atom, you're balancing the electron and the proton. And you're sending that energy to the neutron, which is actually the center of your heart. And that's where the subconscious is. And that's how you reprogram. So, with that said, I'd like to leave on this great quote that it really helps you to understand the intellect of it all. And Charles Fillmore, as we all know, was an amazing man. And not only was he an amazing man, but he was also an amazing person to kind of receive insight. He received information from spirit and wrote this stuff down. And a lot of the things that he talked about back in the day are barely being comprehended now because of the science. So if you don't know the first step, a book, The 12 Powers of Man by Charles Fillmore, if you haven't read it already, go read it. And if you read it, go read it again with new eyes and understand that those parts of your body that are the 12 disciples that Jesus depicts and that Charles depicts, they're actually real. And if you activate them, you'll learn how to use your 12 powers because you do have them. We all do. You just got to learn how to turn it on. And so the quote is from Adam's Smashing Power of Mind by Charles Fillmore. And it states, the spiritual light transcends in glory all the laws of matter and intellect. I'll read that again. The spiritual light transcends in glory all the laws of matter and intellect. And I'll break that down in layman terms. The spiritual light that transcends, which the spiritual light that you focus on when you bring the glory of your truth, you being the child of God, it will defy every law of physical matter and of man's intellect because you are the creator. You are the child of God. And with that said, I hope I didn't lose you all because I know that was a lot of information. And I kind of speak fast. I was born in New York City, so we talk a little fast sometimes. But with that said, that is my time. I think I kept you guys a little bit over time because I really wanted to drive home that last point. But with that said, thank you so much for having me. I hope that you all got something out of this. And if anything, just know that you are more, you are capable, you are a child of God. So love thyself and start every morning with gratitude. Thank you.